Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle and Tim would be doing a mental health update. If you're anything like me, what's going on in this country and the extent of the world, it's really hard and it's really overwhelming. So I wanted to share some of the things I'm doing to cope during this time. I do think there are a lot of videos out there of people sharing what they're doing and specifically what you can do to impact positive change. I think those are really helpful videos. But I really wanted to focus today just mainly on my personal mental health and how I am surviving this time. So the first one is how I am dealing with my mental health is I am restricting the news I'm allowing in. And first I want to talk about how this is obviously a privilege, right? I'm not burying my head in the sand. I'm not turning off the world. I'm still very much aware of what's going on. But I'm at a point where I can't take the constant onslaught of it. A couple weeks ago, I was really just spiraling with everything that was going wrong and bad, and so many people being actually harmed from it, that I really need to put some boundaries in place for my own mental health. And again, the privilege comes in with this, that I can put those boundaries in place. I am fully aware there are people out there that can't just shut off the news, that this is their direct lives that are being disrupted, harmed, that it's a privilege that my position puts me in a place where I'm not in necessarily direct harm way of what's going on, but still viewing it and knowing the suffering that's happening is extremely difficult for me. But I want to make that very clear that I do have privilege in this situation, and I completely see that. So I've been restricting my news. I only watch it once a day, really check in and see what's going on. And I do that usually at night. I don't want to start my day off kind of with like a damage report of what's going wrong with the country today, what people are suffering today. I don't want to start my day like that. It'll put me in the wrong mood and all the things I have to accomplish, homeschooling, things I'm responsible for. I can't do those things if I'm trying to emotionally grapple with that. So I do choose to do it at night. Usually my husband's home at that time, so I can usually talk to someone about it. So that isolationism, you don't want to sit in a room doom scrolling all the horrible things going on by yourself. That's just not healthy for anybody. So I do restrict it. I've really stopped watching any type of mainstream media. I do just really have an issue with, I think, the amount of normalizing that has been done about the truly horrific things going on and policies being introduced, and how that's okay and that's not really and there are, I will say, news anchors and things like actively speaking against it, which I do appreciate, but I just can't bring myself to watch mainstream media at this point. I have really been enjoying the Midas Network. I will link down below. It's independent media and I really enjoy watching them. They're straight up front, talking about things that people aren't talking about. So I do like to check in, and they have videos throughout the day. They usually have a summary of what went on today. So I watch those videos to kind of catch up, and if there's something that pings my interest, I will look further into that. But I think restricting that to a specific time of day where I'm not alone and spiraling down the doom circle, that helps me. Next would be social media. Restricting social media. So I don't do Instagram. I haven't used Instagram for years. I never did Twitter, whatever it became after that. Facebook I do use, and that's mainly because our homeschool meetup group is through that. Or I would completely get rid of it because I don't want to support Facebook. I don't want to support institutions that are causing harm to people. So I only use Facebook to message back and forth those specific groups. As far as YouTube, that's really the only, I guess, social media I'm actively participant in. But again, that's usually me uploading videos and answering comments and talking to viewers in that way. I'm not really consuming, besides the Midas Network, I'm not really consuming a lot of social media content. A lot of it I think is just pushing products and capitalism, and I'm not in the mood for that right now. I'm just not in the mood for that craziness, and it's either like we're talking about this up front or we're completely ignoring. I'm not watching a ton of YouTube at all, and I don't normally watch TV. I don't have any shows or anything I watch. But I have really been restricting, kind of putting parameters around that, so making sure I'm not spiraling. Next would be consumer spending, because I do think this is important. Is my purchasing power going to make a drastic difference? No, but it does give me something I can do. I think in times like this, when it feels hopeless and you can't do anything, finding things you have control over is helpful. My consumer spending is something I have control over. So again, I don't want to support institutions that are bringing harm to other people, and that can be difficult. I know there's, I've watched YouTube channels where they talk about completely banning certain corporations, completely banning Amazon, completely banning Walmart, and I get it. I also think you should be mindful of your situation and what you can do. So for me, I live in an area where there's not a lot of options. We have 3 grocery stores. One of them is Kroger, one of them is Walmart, one of them is Aldi, and then we do, I guess, have a 4th, which is kind of like it's County Market. I don't shop there because the prices are ridiculously expensive and they don't have a lot of allergy-friendly food. So if you're new to my channel, my youngest daughter has celiac disease, which means with our family of 5, we are gluten-free, and everything we bring in the house is gluten-free, which is more expensive. But with that being said, with such little options in my area, my nearest big box store like Costco is an hour away. Target is an hour away. So I don't have a lot of options, but I figured that I can use my purchasing power in certain ways. So I'm only going to Walmart. Not that I really went to Walmart a lot. I'm not a big fan of Walmart in general. I'm only going to go to Walmart for things I can't get other places. So one of those examples would be the lotion that the dermatologist recommended for my daughter. I can only get it at Walmart locally to me because it's no better than shopping on Amazon and getting it delivered to us. Same thing with Amazon. I'm not purchasing anything from Amazon that I can't get other places. So for example, the soap that my dermatologist recommended for my daughter, because she does have some skin issues related with her celiac disease, her autoimmune condition, that I can't get it anywhere locally. I can't even get it anywhere an hour from me in those bigger stores. I can only get it online. And even if I go to the manufacturer's website, they direct you to purchase it through Amazon. So currently the only thing I'm purchasing through Amazon is the soap for my daughter. But I think making small changes like that can make a difference and make you feel like you're doing something, and you really don't need all those things. And I would love to shop other places than Kroger. I'm not the biggest fan of how Kroger's handling things and how they treat their employees, but I don't have any other options in my area. Kroger has the largest supply of gluten-free food locally to me that I can get, so that's where I have to shop for my kid to eat. I am aware of certain brands too and avoiding those, and luckily the nice thing about being gluten-free is I can't use a lot of the mainstream brands because they are in fact gluten-free. So my plan is to limit my shopping to those large corporations, to things I absolutely need and can't get anywhere else, and then to really put my money where it counts. We do have a Costco membership, so obviously it's an hour away. We haven't gone in a couple months because it's an hour away, and that's a long trip with 3 kids and grocery shopping. But I'm going to make a commitment to go to Costco more because I think what they're standing for is good, and I want to support that. But also, I know a lot of people say, shop locally too. Recently, there's a nutrition store in my town, and they sell like supplements and some natural food, those types of things, essential oils. They recently put up about how they were really happy with what's happening to the trans community. I'm sorry, I can't support that. I refuse to shop at a business that openly states they're happy that the trans community is being targeted. So I refuse to shop locally at an institution or a business like that. So your consumer power does make a difference in those areas, especially locally. If they're not in line with your values, don't shop there. So the next one would be, so I'm not watching TV, I'm not consuming a lot of social media. What am I doing with my free time? So I've chosen, at least the last couple months, to just read a ton. And some of that is escapism. I recently put up a video about the books I've been reading. I've been reading almost a book a day because it's hard to tune in and see, the country on fire, literally and figuratively, that reading is a way to kind of go inward. So I've been reading a ton of romance novels. I've been binging the Julia Quinn, all those books. And you can see that video if you're curious. But reading, for the first month, so from the middle of January to probably the first week of February, I wasn't reading any nonfiction. And that's because I just couldn't deal with more reality things. Like, there was so much going on here, I couldn't really process a lot of intellectual stuff at that point. So this past week is the first time I picked up a nonfiction book. And I actually do prefer reading nonfiction over fiction, but those books did kind of give me that respite that I needed to kind of like get out of my head, stop freaking out, live in a different world where, you know, justice and the good win, that kind of type of thing. But I did start reading some nonfiction again. I think my mind and body are kind of ready to start thinking again, because it's really hard to think right now because so much of what's going on doesn't make sense. Even with common sense, it doesn't make any sense. Nothing logical is happening. So for me, reading is a good substitute. And I have no problem reading for like 3-4 hours straight and kind of losing myself in a book. And normally I do like to try to do something crafty or artistic, but I'll be completely honest, these last couple months, I haven't done any of that, just because I think, for me personally, it's really hard to be creative, to be inspired to make something when you feel so horrible, when things are going so bad for so many people. I know some artists actually use that as a way to express themselves or to kind of work through the process. I haven't picked up any sketching or painting since Christmas, and I don't think I'm going to. Although last couple days ago, I did pick up the Mark Kistler sketching book, and I started doing that while my husband was playing video games. So I was in the room with him while he's playing video games, and I was sketching. I did a little bit of that. So again, I think a lot of it is just processing and getting to a place where you can do some of those things, where the waves of just overwhelm and emotion and sometimes despair and what's going on. So the last thing I want to talk about is being positively engaged in your community. That is something that has helped me. I think, again, like I said earlier, that isolating yourself during this time is going to make it so much worse, that it's important to be around people that are supportive and that understand, even if that's in, you in a room full of people with nothing for anybody to say. And this happened recently. I'm part of a library book club, and we met in January, at the end of January, and this is a great group of women, everyone from 26 to probably late 70s, early 80s, and we usually have a great discussion. We spend like 15 minutes talking about the book that we all read, but then the other hour talking about life and all the things involved in it. And it was kind of sad because this time it was just a lot of silence, and I think it's because everyone in the group is just so emotionally overwhelmed, and there are people in that group within that group that are in specific groups that are being targeted by a lot of the policies being put out, and it's directly affecting their lives, and that's really hard to see and hear about. And it was just kind of sad to be in this group where we're usually so active, even when we're talking about things we don't agree with, or things that are going on in the world that's crazy. We were just kind of all stunned to silence. But it was still nice to be in the group, be in a group full of people that understand what you're going through, because I do think that helps to realize that you're not the only one that thinks this is crazy and what's happening is wrong, that there are a lot of people out there that think and feel that way and actively resisting that. So I think it is important to remember, because it can be easy to spiral and to get into that despair that it's all going to crap and nobody's doing anything. But being around people, I think, does help. So the next one would be positive community change. Getting involved. There's not, a ton we can do, but we can definitely create positive change. So for me locally, that means donating to the local food pantry. That is an issue for a lot of people going on right now. Food prices are getting higher. We live in an area that has a pretty large population is poverty line, and food is an issue. Even for us, we spend a ton, and we'll continue to spend even more on groceries with what's going on in this country. So if we can ease that burden a little for people and make sure we're actively participating. And whenever we donate food to the food pantry, we make sure it's allergy friendly, because I don't think that's a thing most people think about, especially if you have dietary restrictions. A lot of what they hand out in food pantries outside of like meat and fruits and vegetables, any canned items, a lot of allergy restrictions. You can't eat any of those things. So we always make sure to donate allergy friendly things when we donate. Another thing is we participate in buddy bags. So locally in my town, there is food assistance programs. So if you are a student in the school system that is on any type of grant, so the school system was given a grant for free lunches for all kids. It was not dependent on income. And that's great. I think that's great that my local area is doing that. The kids have access to breakfast and lunch, during the school year. But one thing that has locally been needed, again, because of the poverty line, is lunches during the weekend too, when school's not in session. So local schools and local churches and other organizations work together to feed those kids. And I think it's actually really cool how they do it. A lot of the information comes from the school system of kids who are in need of these things. And they do it in a way that's not shaming the kids or kind of ostracizing them. Not like, it's the end of the day, here's your food for the weekend, because that would be really difficult for a child, I think. The teachers usually put them in their lockers or in their backpacks while they're at recess or doing other things. So it's not as obvious which kids are getting this assistance, which I really appreciate. But we show up, we pack the bags, we help donate the food. We do all those things because we're not focusing on taking food away from children. We're focusing on giving food to children. And that's a positive change I can personally be involved in, and that I am proud to be involved in. Something we recently did for Valentine's Day is the kids and I made Valentines for the local members of our nursing home. So I think that is really helpful, just letting people know that people are thinking about them and they care about them. Just those little acts of kindness, I do think, promote positive change. And like I said, in a world that's spinning, it's helpful to focus on those little acts, those little things. And is it going to, in the grand scheme of things, cause dramatic change? I don't think so. But is it something I can do, something I have control over that will create positive change and hopefully help somebody? I'm going to do it, because I think that's, at the end of the day, that's something we can do. So those are the things I've been kind of using, coping mechanisms, things I've found helpful during this time. If you'd like to share something that's been helpful for you, if you're having difficulty with what's going on in the country, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear suggestions of how we all get through this. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, thank you for watching.